I just don't think a fighter should ever have that mentality. I think you should want to fight with his put in front of you. He's so game for it. That's the point of Morris is. He's so up for it.
I think we could be looking at the first triple champion in...
Hello, welcome back to the Ultimate Fighting Casuals. So today again, a little bit of a different video, not just talking about the weekend. We do have a video coming for the preview of Usman's Burns, don't worry about that.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be talking about Izzy and Chandler and a couple of interesting fighters we think that would be good subjects to talk about here, because there's definitely some interesting stuff going there. And with Izzy, the main thing we want to talk about is he going to go up or down? Is he going to chase Jones? How's the Batovic fight going to play out? There's a lot to happen there, Moz. What do you think is going to happen?
100%. I think looking at 185 and what's left for him there, Whittaker's kind of cleaned up for him in a sense.
Absolutely.
He's the unofficial champion. I do want to see him in the second fight with Whittaker, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, a second fight is definitely on the cards, isn't it? Look, Whittaker deserves it for what he's done, 100%. Almost, and what he is doing, and I don't think that the Costa fight necessarily changes that. I still think that Whittaker deserves an Izzy fight, regardless of what happens with Costa. But as you just said there, Whittaker is literally kindly gone through the division for Izzy, and almost shown, look, if I'm going to beat these guys this way, you're definitely going to beat them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think going up to Blachowicz was a good decision for him.
I agree, and I think that Blachowicz offers a lot of interesting questions for him. Obviously, beating up a really, really qualified kickboxer in Reyes, who obviously outstruck Jones in their fight, but couldn't get it done with the wrestling. Regardless, looking at Blachowicz, his power is very noted. The Polish power we talk about, but Costa has power.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So that sort of stuff, I think for Izzy will just I think he'll deal with it in a similar way to how he dealt with the Costa stuff. I think that won't be as much of a worry for him. However, he's a bigger guy. 100%. This is also another thing to take into consideration. Look, we all know once Costa gets in that ring, he's probably 200. Don't get it wrong. Like, he probably is close. He's massive.
Inflated like a balloon.
Exactly. But then the way I look at it, like, maybe Blachowicz is the same, but at 200. You know what I mean? Also bloated, also bigger. Still a lot bigger guy. And I think what you said there was really important. The fact that he outstruck Reyes, outboxed Reyes there. That's massive, because that actually is a lot to say, especially with some. It's a lot to say when coming to fight someone like Izzy, because you're looking. I thought Costa could have potentially outstruck Izzy. Right? I thought he would have got in there with the hands. The legs obviously keep. Yeah, exactly. But that's what I think Batovic can do. That's what I'm saying. When you come against Izzy, I think Batovic has got to look at this as, I can overwhelm him here. I can come above him.
And I think one thing to look at as well is Blachowicz has had a lot more fights than Costa. He's a lot more experienced, and are the feints going to be as effective? But
that's very true.
For Adesanya, he's proved he's the master of hit and don't get hit. Look at his fight with Romero in terms of, it wasn't a great fight. Tactically, he played it perfectly. Yeah. You don't want to be getting in exchanges with that massive gorilla of a bloke.
No,
he's going to rip your head off.
He is.
So, frankly, I think that Adesanya is going to come with a perfect game plan, and we're going to see another masterclass. I really do.
And I think that same game plan, I think there's a little thing for us at Adesanya here. Answering sort of the overall sort of arcing vague question, will he chase Jones? This is the start of that.
I agree.
This is the true start of that chase towards that, right? That eventual goal of facing Jones, which he clearly wants to do, right? We know Jones isn't coming back down from heavyweight now. He's sort of on the back end of his career. He probably hasn't got too many fights left. And I think that now Izzy needs to make that charge towards him if that's the fight that he wants. And I'm telling you, beating a Batovic at that size, with this much hype around it, with both the belts on the line, it's a massive deal right now. And I think that Izzy will be victorious, as you said. I think he's going to be too much now for Batovic. But whether or not that will draw Jones in, look, we're not going to get too carried away with MMA math, because obviously he wants to fight Stipe or like Ngannou, whatever the fuck's going on there. But look, this is on the cards. It's 100%. On the cards, right?
I think we could be looking at the first triple champion in Adesanya. We're going to see him have fought and defended at middleweight, light heavyweight, and then at heavyweight as well.
I think he could be I think he has the potential to be the best fighter of the UFC scene. I genuinely mean that. He's for me right now my favourite fighter and the best fighter. For me, like right now, is the guy that I'm always getting behind. I just love his aura, his personality. I've spoke about it before, and I think that obviously that this is very generic, but we all know when a fighter has championship mentality, when he has the mentality to break barriers, and I think that the triple champ barrier is going to be beaten here with Izzy.
I think we could definitely see it, and he's got the skills to do it.
When do you think it's going to happen though?
Well, I see Jones being the heavyweight champion by summer of 2022, so next year.
You really think it'll be that long?
I think so, just in terms of how it will play out. If Miocic gets it done against Ngannou, I think he's going to want to take a bit of a layoff. I think we might.
I wonder what gives you that impression. He's never done that before.
Well, yeah.
He's going to. You're right. It's going to be that long because Stipe's going to take so much longer off, and you know that. And then, but Jones is going to be staying active in that time. He's still going to be fighting.
I agree.
If he's champ by summer next year, that's the Izzy fight. That's the time for it.
I'd like to see Jones fight the winner of Curtis Blades versus Derek Lewis coming up for his first fight in heavyweight. If he beats either of them, then you can absolutely have a title shot. I don't want to see him walk into it. For me, he didn't do enough against Reyes. I thought he lost the fight, and I don't think he should just be handed the title shot. In terms of where he lines up with Adesanya, though, it's difficult. I really think we're going to see early 2023, late 2022, and I think it'll be Jones's last fight, if not one of the last fights.
It has to be, right? And even Adesanya isn't young, by the way. He's 32.
Yeah, and he's made a point of coming into the game late and developing his skill set.
Yes, because a lot of people doesn't know he's lost a lot of kickboxing matches. Sorry, not a lot.
No,
very not a good way to...
In comparison to his MMA
Exactly,
record.
yeah. And people, I think Adesanya looks a lot younger, and like where he's only blown up in the last few years, people don't realise that he has been training for so long.
Decades.
He has been, and he's been in the game for so long. I know, obviously, Jones is John Jones. Uncomparable. It's not the same thing. But to act like Adesanya is just this new, like, hype champion is not a real thing, is it? And I think that a couple more years, especially if he dominates the light heavyweight division...
Yeah.
I don't know what more you can say about it. He deserves the Jones fight. I want it to happen. In my opinion, again, answer the overarching question. Yes, chase John fucking Jones. Do it.
I agree. We all want to see it. And I think it's the biggest fight for him that he can have. We were saying a little bit before, there's no bigger fight with these big boys other than Stipe. DC's out the game. Jones is the only guy to get your pay-per-view money.
This is the fight. I hope it happens.
100%. So, moving on to the next point of the video, we want to talk about Michael Chandler. And after his performance against Dan Hooker, he's just going from strength to strength. He's obviously not had another fight, but he is so game. Wow. He's accepted the fight against Gaethje on this weekend's card against Usman, with Usman Burns,
4 weeks out from the first fight he won?
Absolutely.
Or like 5 weeks out, around that. That's
against
nothing.
An absolute killer. Wow. It fell through because of reasons on Gaethje's side, but... he's the guy in the driving seat right now.
Yeah, the fact that you can come into a division with the mentality of I'm not here just to get my UFC paycheck and fight some top five, round the top five guys, fight a couple of them. No, he wants the title. 100%. He took the top five fight, he beat the guy everyone wants him to beat in the first round in style, right? And now he deserves another big fight. He's so game for it. That's the point like Morris says. He's so up for it. You don't have to convince Michael Chandler to take these fights. Or you have to, he wants them himself. He'd clearly take anyone. Because I think with Chandler, look, with his age and just his career in general, why not make a UFC run the realest shit ever, right? The 100%. Biggest shit ever. And he has the potential to do that, right? Absolutely.
No, I think he's demonstrated he has built up the skill set to do so in terms of his wrestling, and his striking is incredible, as we saw in his last UFC fight. And I really think that he could be the next king of this division.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, and I completely do too. And I think that not only just does he have the stardom and the personality for it, he has the skill to go with it. Absolutely. His striking is absolutely fantastic. It really is. And I think that would really give like a Poirier or Gaethje a run for its money. I think that's where we'd see like a great bloody scrap and a great scrap in general. However, just being sort of more technical and sort of talking about the sides of things where Chandler might not want those fights, right? And this is sort of my point to make here is Chandler did everything that I've just mentioned, right? And he has all the bargaining chips now. He has everything in his corner, everything going for him. You'd agree, right? Chandler can almost pick the fight that he wants, unless it's maybe one or two guys. And I think that's really important. I think that Chandler needs to use those bargaining chips wisely. I think that if he goes and fights like a Gaethje or a Poirier, we might see some real trouble on those leg kicks. If you go back and watch a couple of fights, Morris, you're going to have to remind me on who it did it to him.
I believe it was Patricio Pitbull.
I think he's 100% right. I'm literally...
Bellator.
Yes, definitely there, definitely that. I'm 100% sure that's who it was. He leg kicked him a lot, and his front foot went numb. His standing foot, it went completely dead, and they stopped the fight, and he lost the fight for that reason. Now, unless he's really worked on that, that's a massive thing in the UFC right now. If he comes up against that in Poirier Gaethje, how do you see that ending for him?
Well, I mean, we saw the effectiveness of the leg kicks in the most recent fight with Poirier against McGregor. Look, I think that wrestling is going to have to be the great equaliser in that.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that his wrestling, other than Khabib, is actually probably the best we've got in the lightweight division right now.
Do you think we'll see that then? Do you think that's the way to go?
I think it absolutely has to be employed, because you don't want to stand and trade with Poirier or Gaethje.
But Gaethje wrestling with Chandler, that would be amazing. I think that's the fight. I think that's the fight to make. I want to let you talk about your points on that. I know you like that, but wow, because that's really made me think about it actually. Because I do think that we could see a lot of wrestling in that. We might not see that be a striking one as much.
I think it would be a full on MMA fight.
MMA, yeah, go to the floor, a lot of striking down there. Absolutely agree, and to make that call that Chandler's probably the next best thing we have after Khabib is a massive call, but probably a true one that I would there's not a lot of evidence to go against that, and I would really like to see him versus Gaethje. I think that's massive.
So would I, and I think that he actually wins it. And I'll go a step further. I believe that Michael Chandler is the only fighter that in the UFC that can get Khabib back. I even think if McGregor puts wins together, that's not happening. There's no reason to see that fight. I think the only fighter that offers anything is Chandler. That being said, Oliveira is interesting. I just don't think he's got the star power.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The only way I see that changing is just through the course of 2021. I don't think we'll see Khabib fight. If he's going to come back and fight, I don't think it'll be this year.
I don't believe so.
And I don't think it'll be in the first 12 months at least, right? It's only been 5 months since he beat Gaethje or something like that, right? So the way I look at it, I think that Oliveira could still gain momentum, gain stardom. Whoever his next fight is, if he was to win that fight, it would be massive.
Chandler, and he said no.
Exactly, and if he was to take that and win, there's your stardom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's obviously, you take the fight and you lose and it's really bad, but if you take that fight and you win, you can capture everybody's star power off the back of that. Chandler knows that, and he believes in himself, and I don't think Oliveira does.
I agree, and that's where Oliveira's fucked up. Going with the mentality of, and I know it's just you saying that, but I can't lose because I've got all these bargaining chips that I can use. I've got the Ferguson ones. I'm on an 8-fight win streak. Look, I just don't think a fighter should ever have that mentality. I think you should want to fight with who's put in front of you. And it's not like Chandler is a fight that's put in front of you. It's not, again, no disrespect to Hooker, but if Hooker had been put in front of him, you'd understand why he'd say no. But after what we've just seen, you cannot deny Chandler that fight. And Charlie, you're right there. Do you know what I mean? You're right there with him.
Yeah.
You're the next two guys down after Gaethje and Poirier for me. You're the next guys there, and I think their names are well in the tournament, and I think that Chandler should get the title fight first. That's what I personally agree.
I agree, and I think you're spot on in saying a win in. I think one of those two should fight, and a win for either of them puts them in the title position. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's today's video all wrapped up. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that cool shit. Anything from you at all, Moz?
If you could drop the Insta follow, it'd be much appreciated.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.